Yo, what up, what up? This is Kev Choice, and you listening to Day One Radio. Yeet.
The business.
Welcome back to another episode, another installment of Day One Radio, right here on ablradio.com. That's Art, Beats, and Lyrics Radio to be exact. Make sure you download the very free, very accessible smartphone app for your iPhone and Android devices. And B, tell them where they can find out the entire Day One catalog at.
You can always check us out on SoundCloud, iTunes, Spreaker, Stitcher, and as well as day1radio.com. Make sure y'all always rate and review and, pass the word, man. Let people know what we doing over here. So how was your weekend, bro?
Once again, I don't remember it. So
I think you lying now, man. Keep telling me you don't remember your weekend.
I don't. Oh, okay. I do remember what I did. Saturday, I was in the I Do Music 5K race over there.
I heard of it. Somebody had told me about it. I wanted to do it, but I was out of town, man. But that's dope that they're doing that, the whole health and wellness thing, man.
Yeah, man. I got in it because, I missed out on it last year, but I got in it, just to, support. I mean, I run anyway, but shoot, I actually finished pretty high, man. I finished like second overall in my age group and third in the race overall.
It was a lot of people out there?
Yeah, man. I've never been good at head counts, but, it was over 100 people out there. Like, we're pretty deep, man. So shout out to Curtis Daniels, everybody out there. Shout out to Greg Street that was out there. KP was out there. A lot of familiar faces is out there getting fit, man.
That's what's up. I'm going to have to do it next year if I'm around for sure.
Oh, yeah, shout out to Adele out there, too. Adele didn't run this year. He ran last year, but he was out there.
Oh, Adele, I thought you was talking about the singer. I was finna say, damn.
No, Adele Henderson.
Okay, yeah. I think that's who told. That's actually, I was talking to him a couple weeks ago, and that's who told me about it for sure. So, yeah, man, that's dope. That's what's up, man. And we got to, what's the name of the, I always mess up their names, the I Don't Do Clubs or whatever.
I Don't Do Clubs.
Yeah. Shout out to them for putting hip hop trivia in their top 10 things to do in Atlanta this week. So make sure y'all support them and come out every Wednesday at Slice. That's 75 Piedmont Northeast, where we do hip hop trivia from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. Drink specials, music, great food, and probably the funnest night you're gonna have in Atlanta. This ain't on no industry shit, even though people trying to keep push us to.
Yeah, man. Like, it's like we don't have any lists. You don't have to RSVP. You can actually show up and just be cool. You don't have to hop on the microphone and perform. Just come through and be cool.
Exactly. So make sure y'all come through, have a good time. It's non-pretentious. It's super fun, and yeah, man, that's about it. But I'm always excited when we have somebody from my hometown in the building, man. So we got, shoot, it's hard to describe what this brother is. He raps, he plays piano, he writes music, he reads music, he works within the community. He's some of everything, man. Multi-talented artist straight out of Oakland, the one and only Kev Choice. What's up, bro?
What's good, man? How you feeling, brother?
Oh, man,
I'm
I'm
good to
great.
be here, man.
The word is virtuoso or something like that.
I don't know, man.
Virtuoso, that's a good one. Maestro, that's another one.
All those very low key, humble adjectives for it.
Nah, I was just going with the flow. I like words.
No doubt, man. And it's funny because I forgot how we met. But then we happened to be at an event in Oakland a few years ago, and I go to introduce you to one of my best friends, and you like, man, I know this dude. Wow. I've been knowing him for years. One of my best friends, Morel, I was like, that's crazy how we never met until years later, and you guys been knowing each other since teen years, and me and him been knowing each other since college. It's super small.
The Bay
world.
is like that. It's like 6 degrees of separation, man. I mean,
no doubt.
One person know one person. Oakland, Frisco, like we all cousins, is relatives, next door neighbors, some in some form of way. You know what I'm saying? So
exactly. No, I know a lot of people who are into jazz or into, you know, just performing arts period know who you are. But for those that don't, man, give them a brief history of the Kev Choice experience.
Man, well, you know, I grew up in Oakland, California. You know, I guess you could say I started my musical journey like around the age of 11, just getting into piano, you know, really like studying music from an early age, classical, jazz, and also doing a lot of hip hop. You know, it's a lot of dope cats I was surrounded by. So, I mean, taking it back to Loonies, Hieroglyphics, you know, just Oakland in that era was just a lot of talented artists just out there grinding, trying to get their names out. So, I was part of that. Then I kind of went away to college, New Orleans and Illinois. You know, got that young degree, that master's degree. Came back to the town and just started just grinding, trying to get my name out, working with everybody in the town business, Bay Area business, from Guapale to Too Short to Martin Luther, Lettucey. You know, on to working with national artists like Lauryn Hill and Dwelle, and just so many people just from coming through the town and just who heard about me as a musician, and just I got a chance to work with. So and also just hustling my own music as a producer, an MC, pianist, you know what I'm saying? Just been grinding like that since I graduated, and just, like you say, being in the community as well is a big part of what I do, you know, trying to support, educate, you know, and fight, use my music for a tool of justice out there in the town. So that's kind of me in a nutshell, you know what I'm saying?
So you started playing classical piano at 11. Mm-hmm. Was that, quote unquote, cool at the time among your friends?
You already know the answer to that.
Exactly. It was the uncoolest thing I could do. You know, it's funny. It was uncool, but there was a small group of cats who we kind of pushed each other. Like, we were outside of the cool, but we was hella into music. And then it was also cats who was producing at that age. We was going to the studio like 12, 13, like, you know, making beats. Older cats was using us to play on their stuff, you know what I'm saying, because we was learning how to actually do music, read music, and they would see that, be like, okay, well, don't y'all come over here, let's, you know, they was kind of grooming us at a young age. So luckily I had people that kind of made me feel like, okay, what I'm doing is important, even though a lot of my peers was kind of clowning and, you know, dissing. But then now those is the same folks that's coming to the shows and front row, like, yeah, Kev, I remember you, bro. You used to be doing it. So, but it's good to know, when you're young, you never know what somebody is going to end up doing for the rest of their life. So I was just fortunate to find that one thing at an early age. So
at least you were playing piano, though, because, you know, you could have said, I was playing classical flutes, right, and I was playing.
Right. Yeah, flautist, you know what I'm saying? Right. There's some brothers that might be killing on the flute too. But yeah. I mean, I had the piano, and I was definitely blessed to have that instrument, you know, to keep me focused.
So for you, a lot of times, a lot of people that are, you know, young, that are heavily into jazz, were influenced by hip hop. And I know you fell in love with hip hop well before you fell in love with classical music or jazz. But did hip hop make you embrace some of the jazz stuff just because of sampling and be like, oh, that's
really in a nutshell exactly. I mean, because we was, you know, when I first got into piano doing the classical, it was cool. I was kind of like, okay, I just wanted to get better, so that's kind of why I kept doing it. But then as I started, you know, making beats, and then of course listening to hip hop, we listening to every Tribe album, every De La, even cats like Souls of Mischief, Far Side. We looking at the album credits and seeing what albums they sampled and going to find those. Like, we was digging as early as, you know, junior high as well. So that kind of, from listening to the music that we was digging for and listening to the samples, it kind of encouraged me to start learning how to play those as well, learning to play it by ear, and just, so it kind of just schooled me on what a lot of the dope music was. Like, it wasn't no classes telling me what, you know, Coltrane was doing or Miles Davis was doing or certain record labels was doing. So we was studying that just from being students of hip hop. So it kind of helped open my eyes to a whole nother world of music.
Did you have any, like, teachers or your parents or anybody that was into, like, some of the classics or anything?
I mean, you know, of course, moms and the fam was really into the, you know, the soul, R&B, you know, not really much like the heavy jazz stuff, you know, but I did have some teachers that kind of that schooled me more like when I got to college, when I got to New Orleans. I mean, that's when they kind of was like, okay, I can see you got the skills, but you got to learn the pedigree. You got to go back and learn all of the classics and study, you know, from the Monk to the Herbies and the Chick Corea, McCoy Tyner. So they put me up on the actual, this is the lineage that you got to study.
Yeah, because I'm sure you wasn't really getting exposed to that a whole lot.
Yeah, I wasn't really getting exposed to that a little bit, but not like the real, you know what I'm saying? Like the real deal stuff that you got to kind of really understand. Just like in hip hop, you got to if you really want to be a student of hip hop, you got to go back and listen to the Rakims and the Big Daddy Kanes and the EPMDs and really get a full-fledged understanding of where the music come from.
Did you actually enjoy that process though? Because it's one thing to like be like, okay, I'm about to just go to the record store and pick up this CD, pick up this vinyl and listen to it. It's another thing to be like, dang, I got to go all the way back to this.
Right. I mean,
learn the notes and learn who's playing on that album. You know?
Right. I mean, I feel like I did enjoy it because I wanted to be great. I wanted to be one of the best, and I wanted to see what they was on to be like, okay, how can I take that to the next level, or how could I use some of that to create my own thing? And I understood from early age that you gotta go back and study. Just like a great poet needs to go back and read great poetry, or a scientist needs to study science from all eras. So it's just I understood at an early age that it was beneficial for me to learn as much about many styles of music as possible, and all of the greats as well. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I did.
a lot of musicians, even classical musicians, or I would say jazz musicians, all the way down to artists in R&B, hip hop, or whatever, don't do the education thing.
Right. And I mean that might not be the route for everybody, but for me, I mean, even going to school, like most musicians don't have a degree in music.
Right.
It was just, I felt like that was a route that was good for me because I was always studious. I like to study, I like to read, I like to learn. I like being around people that was smart and I could learn from in a learning environment. So that was a big part of it as well, as being in an environment of hella people that was pushing themselves and educating themselves. So,
like, is that a very competitive environment? Because I mean, sometimes when you hear stories like that, you just imagine everybody kind of being in there like it's a musical movie, like Sister Act or something. Yeah, everybody's just like do, just having fun. Like, is it a very competitive environment?
It's definitely competitive. I mean, because it's you performing and everybody want to shine. You know what I'm saying? And if you ain't the best, then you ain't shining. So then everybody. That means it would be cats. We be in the practice room, side by side. You know what I'm saying? Knowing that we vying for the same spots, or we vying for the same same positions in the band or whatever. So yeah, it's definitely competitive being a musician in any level. You know what I'm saying? Definitely.
Do you feel like isn't it because what made you go ahead and do the graduate degree too?
I mean, really, it was just the opportunity that was presented because I was kind of just about to just go back home and I was really trying to be an MC, an artist, and
yeah.
But I feel like it was just the way my path was paved. Somebody heard me play. They kind of offered me a what you call a fellowship, a scholarship, or whatever. And it was just something it seemed like a good opportunity to continue to get better, to continue to grow as an artist. And I felt like, okay, why not go do my little 2 years, keep getting better, and then had that master's. And I also was mindful that there are not a lot of African American male men who have a master's degree. So I kind of wanted to.
A master's degree in music?
A master's degree in many things.
Yeah. True.
Definitely not in music. But I mean, we can look at the percentage of African American men that have college degrees or even graduate degrees. So I kind of knew that it would put me in a good position to be 24 and have a master's degree. And I could be a good example for people in my community and just for myself. It was something that I felt like it would be beneficial.
No, that's dope, most definitely. So, I mean, obviously you knew early on you wanted to be in music.
Yeah.
But when did the MC bug hit you?
I mean, I was doing them all at the same time. Like,
okay.
I wrote my first poems, like, 5th, 6th grade. I had an uncle to kind of show me how to write my bars, write just 16 numbers on the page. And that's kind of how I started writing raps at an early age. So even as I was playing piano from the beginning, I was also writing raps and doing songs, kind of doing it all together at the same time.
And we don't get that often. It's a lot of jazz cats who also dabble in hip hop, produce or whatever, but we don't get too many cats that can really play and read and write that also rap. Has that been like a struggle for you since you're so different?
I mean, definitely in the beginning. For a while, I didn't really see how they could go together because it wasn't really a lot of people doing it. But then as I got a little older and I started getting in performance situations, it would be like, okay, why not rap and play at the same, or do it at the same time or at the same show? Nobody was really doing it. I mean, you had hip hop bands, especially in the Bay Area. There was a cool little hip hop band scene, even like in the late '90s or early early 2000s. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of saw that, and of course seeing people like the Roots, you know what I'm saying, really inspired me, you know, and even though they wasn't rapping and playing, there was a band with an MC in the front, so I saw that it could be done, you know what I'm saying. But yeah, it took me a while to put it all together, see how it would flow doing classical and jazz and hip hop all together, because honestly, yeah, ain't nobody really was doing it at that time all together.
Like, forgive me if the question is like too broad, but like, how'd you go through doing that without it coming off as like just corny? You know what I'm saying? Because like, you know, a lot of times, you know, like one of my biggest things about like, I think me and Brandon might have debated about this. Like, I thoroughly enjoyed maybe like the first 2 Hidden Beach Unplugged albums. I think Brandon has hated all of them.
Yeah, I didn't like none of them.
I didn't like any of them after part 3, but I did thoroughly enjoy 1 and 2. And then even sometimes now when I hear, you know, rappers rapping on straight up jazz tracks, was like, nah, this is corny. Or even if I think Common was rapping on somebody's song one time, I was like, this just sound corny, bro. Like, this ain't jamming. You know what I'm saying?
I think what I always had the mentality of, first, I'm an MC.
Okay.
So even when I was in piano school, I would be playing Beethoven, like bobbing my head, moving my body like I'm rhyming or I'm in a cipher. And even my teachers saw that. So every musical endeavor that I approached it from the hip hop generation that I came from, like with an MC mentality, even if it's playing jazz or even if it's playing classical. So I think, and I always was very, very aware of that, like live hip hop being corny, because a lot of live hip hop honestly is corny.
Yeah, it is.
It is watered down or smooth. I'm not really a fan of smooth jazz. Like,
me neither, bro.
I'm more of a fan of like edgy, you know, jazz. Or
And even if it's not corny, a lot of times it's just not good. Like, I'm a big Kendrick fan, as both of y'all know, but like his shows without a live band are normally superior to his shows with a live band, because I think you have to be doing it for a while and have a really good music director that you bounce off of. Like, if Terrence is the music director, then the shit goes good.
Yeah.
But other times it's like, it's cool, but it ain't that same passion, it ain't that same energy.
Yeah, it's a thin line, you know, especially with live hip hop, because most hip hop, you know, fans or artists aren't as familiar or fans of like a live musical aspect. You know, even though I feel like there's a more and more people are getting, you know, accustomed to it, and there is a certain niche crowd of people who listen to a Coltrane and a Kendrick, or you know, or know about a, you know, Return to Forever or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Just the real deep jazz stuff. So it's something that is getting more into the mainstream, but it's still a very thin line of doing it well and doing it correctly. I mean, Jay-Z's live band was, you know, that was incredible. I mean, I've seen Kanye have some live bands that was incredible. I've seen Q-Tip, you know, saying and Tribe. So it's definitely certain cats that could pull it off. And then there's other cats to where it's like, you know,
I ain't gonna lie, there's been times I've seen shows with rappers that I love, all their music. I see a flyer for a show with a live band. It's like, for what? Cool. Why are you doing that? You know what I'm saying?
And I think the genius of Kanye, when he first started doing it on the Glow in the Dark tour, the crowd couldn't see the band.
Right.
So it's like, if you don't have an ear for music, you don't even know that he's performing with a band.
Right, with a full orchestra and shit.
Exactly. So that was some next level. And I even think on the last tour, you couldn't really see the band.
Right.
In the Yeezus joint. Yeah. So, but you recently performed at Blue Note, man, like, which is pretty much like the mecca right now for jazz artists. How was that?
It was incredible, man. I mean, I've listened to so many albums that was recorded there, and then Blue Note is, honestly, it's the biggest name in jazz.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, as far as a label. And then, you know, that club has been there for years. So it was definitely very sentimental to perform there, and it just let me know that, you know, I'm not far off from, you know, doing all the great things that I set out to do in the beginning. And just being in New York for 4 or 5 days was just incredible itself. You know, just the energy there is always just dope as a musician, because there's so much going on, so many performers, so many shows, so much networking. So it was all around just a dope experience.
For sure. Now, it is ill. Like, we talked about this a couple times on the show, how, you know, I think Robert Glasper kind of set it off, and then Kamasi, Thundercat, Terrace. Do you see with their success and jazz becoming, I don't want to say mainstream, but just more palatable to audiences that didn't grow up on jazz, do you find that that's opened doors for you as well?
Definitely. I mean, because, you know, they're bringing the new the new style into jazz. You know, coming from a hip hop generation, or coming from even bringing electronic instruments into it, or you know, doing songs that we hear on the radio, but in a jazz form. Or collaborating with platinum artists. You know what I'm saying? Whether it be, you know, a Kendrick or even from Beyonce and on. Like, a lot of musicians are behind a lot of these big artists that we're seeing, Erykah Badu's and stuff. So yeah, they're definitely opening the doors, and also they touring all around the world. You know, going to all these big festivals. We don't even hear about how all summer they be in festivals in Europe.
I mean, the fact
killing,
that Kamasi did Coachella, like, I don't think people have really wrapped their minds around that. Like,
that's huge.
Yeah, that's
huge. And
that's the biggest festival in the world. You know?
Yeah, cats playing sax and, you know, and keys, and not rappers or singers, but, you know, instrumentalists getting that real shine, and that's definitely a door opener for cats like me.
Yeah,
like
sure.
with that being said, though, like, as as your musical profile continues to rise, like, how do you teeter along that line of, like, giving them too much of the jazz? Because, like you said, you know, it's just now kind of being digestible.
Mm-hmm.
I was listening to a recent interview with Thundercat and Kamasi, and they was talking about how, you know, playing on the Kendrick album, they were so overjoyed because they were like, man, I can hear you in the production.
Right,
you know,
right.
when we playing on Mary J. Blige album, they just, nah, man, just do this, just do that, you know.
Right.
But I'm like, man, I can hear you, I can hear your voice playing on this. So, like, as you know, continue to grow, like, how do you see yourself teetering along that line? Do you want to give them all of the, this is 20-something years of classical piano playing you hearing, bro? You know what I'm saying?
Well, you know, every situation is different. Like you say, yeah, the Mary J. situation is not going to be the Kendrick situation. So when it's my music, I'm going to try to give them as much of me as possible. If I'm working with other artists, you know, like when I was touring with Lauryn Hill, there was certain chords she didn't want us to play. It was certain, you know, stuff she didn't want us to do, certain sounds she didn't want us to make because she didn't want it to sound a certain way. So, or too jazzy or too gospel or too whatever. So it's definitely different situations that call for different things.
And it's funny how you just glossed over it. He wasn't just playing with Lauryn Hill on the tour. Like, tell them what you were doing with her. Like,
I mean, for about a year, I was able to be a musical director for her. And
What year?
this was like 2007, 2008.
Okay.
And you know, we toured, you know, Japan, Brazil. We did like a tour in Hawaii, all around Europe.
how did that come about?
It was the most, I don't want to say random. I say there's been miracles placed in my life, situations that just happened out the blue. But she literally was just in the Bay Area. A cat that I knew had worked with her in the past through the Marleys, and she would just do stuff like come to a city and be like, oh, okay, who's the dope musicians out here? Have them come meet me in the studio in an hour. And if you can make it in that hour and you can be there and you can show what you got, then who knows? So that's kind of one of those situations. I was able to get to a studio where she was. She kind of walked in and started playing some stuff, and me being a, you know, well-versed musician, I kind of sat down and just started vibing with her. And then from that, she called me like in a couple of hours, was like, let's do something else. And then the next day it was like, can you put together a band? And then the next thing I know, we rehearsing and just touring, and we got a show. So it kind of came together. So just,
how was that experience? Because, you know, we especially with her having her issues with punctuality with certain shows, like
I dealt with all of the every situation that you read about, heard about. I dealt with it, from just the aspects of dealing with bands, the aspects of, you know, her being late for shows. I mean, one of the most classic shows, I mean, from being in Nice, France, and she being 2 hours late, and I'm trying to, a lot of times it would be on me to put the band on stage until she came, or like they would just be like, we need you to do something, and I would be the point person there trying to pull it all together. But I mean, it was definitely some wild experiences, but I mean, I learned a lot from that experience, and I think that experience taught me that I could deal with anything in the industry. There's nothing in this industry that could faze me or that I could be intimidated by. If I could work with Lauryn Hill under the most pressured situations around the world, from Jerusalem to Oakland to Hawaii to Brazil, and come through that, and that kind of pushed me to do my own shit.
Now, if you're at liberty to answer this, feel free. But it's like, I just know from my personal experiences, and, you know, just from experiences from people that continue to go to Lauryn Hill shows. A lot of the main questions beyond.
Are you saying they shouldn't?
No, I'm not saying that. But like beyond the punctuality thing, a lot of people will always complain about like, why does the song sound like this? Why is it sped up? Why is it slowed down? Why can't it just sound like how it sound on the CD that I bought?
I would give you the answer that she would say. You know, Lauryn Hill is very much a person who you can say she's a genius. You can say some people look at it as genius. Some people look at it as insane. There's a very thin line. But she's like, why would I want to do something the same way for 10 years straight? Or why would I was on that 10 years ago. I was on that 15 years ago. Now I'm on something totally different. So I'm not gonna try to appease people just because they want me to be the same person I was 15 years ago. Like, I'm inspired by different things now. I listen to different things now. If I want to do a fast one day, I'm gonna do a fast one day, and I might flip it the next show and do it totally different. So she was always changing stuff, and I mean, some people was not gonna like that, I think she was honestly, she was okay with knowing that some people was not gonna like it, and she felt like the ones that was really gonna see where she was and appreciate that, and then those would be the fans that she would perform for.
So it sounds like she's a jazz musician in that way. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, Miles Davis was the same way. I mean, even Prince wouldn't perform certain songs for years. Like, the people wanted to come hear songs that he did way back in the day. For years, he wouldn't do a lot of those old songs. So I see how certain artists think like that, and I mean, I respect it. That's her own decision, and she was willing to face the consequence.
So being on the road with all these cats, did that help you with your showmanship when you started putting together your band and going out and performing?
Nah, definitely, because it showed me that, number one, you gotta do it every night. Like, every time you get on the stage, whether it's 10 people, whether it's 10,000, you gotta come with a high level of performance, because the people deserve it. And the people that come there, and those fans, and those are the ones who are gonna support you, and they really. Like, seeing how fans really support, like, around the world, like, that's something that always give me a drive, because I see that's what we do it for. We do it to inspire the people, to get that love, and performing is one of the greatest benefits of being an artist, being able to connect with a fan base. So
sometimes, do you think do you hold back at all on stage? Because I know I've seen you perform a couple times and open for people, and I was like, they'll never let him open for them again, ever.
Right, and I mean, that's the thing. I try not to hold back. I mean, I feel like, especially if I'm an opener, I feel like I come from the school where if you're the opener, your job is to show the headliner up. Like, that's your job. Okay. Like, to get up there and be like, I'm the opener, but really I could be headlining this shit. The only reason you the headliner because you got hits and you got shit behind you or whatever. But like, as far as like stage show and musicianship, bar for bar, like, I'm gonna show you that I'm worthy to be a headliner, or I'm worthy to be on the stage. That's always my mentality.
Like the great poet Pimp C once said, "I left it wet for you."
Right. Exactly.
Have you had an experience where a promoter told you, like, bro, I want to book you to open up for whoever, but
I've heard through secondhand people that certain big name rap artists, I'm not gonna mention their names, was like, personally, I will never let him open for me again, or don't let that motherfucker open for me when you come to town. Like, who is this? Like, seriously, and I've heard numerous people say that, and but hey,
it's kind of like a compliment, though.
It is. It's compliment and hate at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like,
it's either front-sided a hate or backside hand compliment.
Backside compliment, but it goes in the territory. People, certain artists, I mean, like I said, if they want to step on the stage after me, they got to come with I've even heard artists be like, "Yo, you made me step my game up tonight." Like, big name artists, like, tell me personally, which is a good compliment.
Definitely. And you've been, I think that has pushed people to book you more. Like, I've seen, like, a lot, like, just following you on Instagram and just keeping my ear to the street, like, doing a lot of festivals, doing a lot of dates or whatnot. So, and you have your own fan base. Like, for real, do you see that expanding? Because you've been a fixture in the Bay for a while.
Nah,
but doing New York, doing, LA and all of that, do you see it expanding?
I definitely see it growing, and I definitely feel like I still have a lot to prove every time, because it could easily disintegrate at any moment. Like, as an artist, it's kind of like my duty. If I want to get, like, I don't want to be an opener for the rest of my life. I'm trying to be the headliner. I'm trying to be right there with all of the, the biggest artists in the game. So I'm definitely always trying to, look for ways to grow my fan base, push my brand, expand outside of the Bay Area, so it's definitely a constant push. It's something I'm always aware of and trying to keep growing and trying to keep taking it to the next level.
No, for your projects in the past, it's been a good, a mix of what's current, your jazz background, but always emceeing. This next project, 88 Steps to Eternity, is for the most part all instrumentation. Yep. What made you want to do that?
I just felt like it was, I've been a musician my whole life, and I've always, like I said, I put out this will be my 4th album or official album.
Right, because you had a ton of mixtapes.
Yeah, I was putting out mixtapes and EPs, and just I've always tried to push myself by being creative and putting out stuff. So I just felt like it was time where I was like, what, I got to show people what my real musicianship and composition side, because it's easily to get glossed over when you rapping amongst the album. Even though every album I put 3 or 4 instrumentals,
right,
it's still labeled as a hip hop album or put it in a certain category, or maybe people don't really get the full breadth of what I do as a musician. So, and then a lot of my fans are always like, man, we love your piano playing, or we love your compositions. We would love to hear, just a full, do a full project just like that. And then even listening to certain people in the industry who like, what, just focus on one thing for one project and then see how that goes, and might be able to, open doors that you weren't getting open before. So I was like, okay, well, let me just do this. I have so many compositions. I just knocked it down for a couple of months and just got it done.
What when is 88 Steps to Eternity? When are you gonna bring that out?
The official release will be first week of September.
Okay, so right around the corner.
Yep.
No, it's dope, man. It's really good, and I've gotten more and more into jazz, I would say, over the last 4 or 5 years. I've always listened, but getting older, you want to chill out, whatever. And again, I don't like smooth jazz either. That shit is terrible. but it's ill, man. I can hear you in it, which is always a compliment. I've always thought that if you can convey emotion without words, then you're really reaching the top of your art form. And I definitely get that from listening to it. So what do you think the reaction is going to be? Because you can't roll it out the same way as a rap album at all. Right. So what are your plans to get eyes on it and ears on it? Well,
I'm definitely, trying to step up the whole, just the packaging of it as far as how I'm going to put it out, reaching out to, having a publicist, or, reaching out to college radio and having a, it takes a lot to really push an album to the next project. People think that shit just blows up overnight, or without no work, without no money, without no solid plan. So I've been trying to get those things together, having a publicist that's gonna help, getting some premieres of certain websites, doing shows outside of the Bay, hitting New York, LA, Atlanta, coming, just really trying to make an imprint outside of the Bay Area. That's kind of one of my main goals with this album. And then just getting it to the people. This album, I feel like I just really want people to hear it so they can really see what the vibe is and see what I can do, and then come with something next. I'm always it's all just stepping stones. We're here to create, and I'm not going to be this is my last album I'm going to ever create. People, I'm going to be okay, we'll get this out, push it, do as much as I can with it, and then start working on the next, and then just keep. It's all a process to me. Just keep growing and keep pushing as an artist.
What song on there do you think should be the entry point for folks that are just getting on to Kev Choice music?
Well, I released this little song on SoundCloud called Heroes Theme. that's a good introduction to the sound of the album. It's a real live. It's all live music. I mean, I got like some synth stuff on there, but it's my full band. You know, it's a cool little groove that people could, you know, feel and vibe to. And then I got this the second song I'm gonna drop called "Rock With Me Still" is a song I've been playing a lot of guitar lately. You know what I'm saying? You don't know about
this
that
is
instrument.
probably the only person rapping that you've seen since Teddy Riley with a guitar on stage.
So the guitar is just a fun instrument as a pianist or a keyboardist, just be able to stand up and, you know, vibe out. So I did this song. It's really, I also took a lot of influences from, you know, current hip hop, whether it be you want to call it trap or whatever, just a lot of the rhythms and melodies that rappers be using. I kind of wanted to fluctuate that into my music. So the song "Rock With Me Still," "Love Trap," it's a couple of them on there that I think people gonna really vibe to.
So my personal favorite song right now, I think, is "My Cause." And "My Cause" be jamming.
Yeah, that's that "Love and Revolution." That's definitely one of my classic songs that people could check out. You know, go to the SoundCloud, soundcloud.com/Kev Choice. You can check out the whole catalog. I got a bunch of stuff up there.
For sure. Now, you have on the Keep Oakland Soulful t-shirt right now. And, you know, the problem that Oakland is facing, as well as a lot of other cities in this country, is gentrification, man. What is your take on that? Because we've talked about it before, and it's positives that come in. Both of us grew up in the Bay, so we know how things were in the 80s and 90s and to an extent still are today. But on the flip side, you're losing a lot of the organic feel of the area. And this ain't just Oakland, it's Brooklyn, it's Harlem, it's Atlanta, it's certain areas, it's certain parts of Chicago.
The crazy thing about it, it seems like every city that's going through it for real, has their own unique t-shirt for it. Like, y'all got Keep Oakland Soulful, like, and then, you know, you got Detroit versus everybody. Then, you know, then you got Atlanta influences everything. You know, it's like
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's multifaceted in a lot of ways because it's affecting so many different aspects of daily life, from just number one, people's housing situation, where we live. You know, people, if you can't afford to live in a city that your family grew up in, or you've been there for generations, and you've had businesses, you know, people's businesses is getting shut down and moved out or getting bought out. People's homes is getting bought out. You know, school system is, you know, completely, changing, and, you know, public schools aren't being able to flourish because of, you know, charter schools or
exactly.
Just,
my pop's been working at Frick since
Frick, yeah,
probably like the late 80s, early 90s, and they just turned that into a charter school this last year. So
it's crazy. I mean, and you know, and I feel like charter schools and public schools can work together. I mean, I actually work at 2 charter schools that are really good schools and really do good things, and I also, you know, step in and help out at public schools as well. But it's just, you know, it's just having options for people. It's becoming less and less viable for people without a certain income to be able to survive in the city. So, and that becomes an issue, because then all of the culture starts to leave. All of the things that made Oakland what it is, you know, it starts to change, and then pretty soon it will be, it's like it is now. It's almost unrecognizable in a lot of situations. So Keep Oakland Soulful is like, we got to still keep some of the presence of what made Oakland is. Like, if you went to New Orleans and there was no jazz and there was no jambalaya and there was no crawfish, you'd be like, what the hell's going on out here? If you went to Memphis and there was no blues, or if you know what I'm saying? So there has to be some type of, we got to hold on to some of these things what made these cities what they are, which made this country what it is. So it's like trying to find out ways to keep housing low for certain people, or certain pay rates. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody can't afford $3,000 a month. You know what I'm saying? So if you build in a condo high rise with 1,000 apartments in it, you know, at least some of those got to be affordable for some people, or you got to build an equal amount for people, you know, who aren't making that type of money. You know what I'm saying?
Like, where is Zion from? Is he from Oakland? Or
they're from Oakland too.
Y'all see that video he dropped, the Tech Money video? Yeah, man. Like, if y'all haven't seen this video or heard the songs, like, the artist Zion from Oakland has a video where, you know, he's pretty much documenting the day he had to move out of his crib because it started costing too much. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do a lot of work with Zion. Shout out Zumbi. You know what I'm saying? I'll tour with them, work with them a lot as well, and just seeing him go through that process is real, it's deep, and he's a brother just, you know, trying to survive, trying to take care of his family. He had to move out to the suburbs because, his house got bought out, and it's just a crazy situation, and more of that is happening with people trying to own homes or people owning businesses. They're just getting forced out or priced out, you could say.
Yeah, it's really crazy, man. I remember, because this isn't the first time this has happened. Like, the first time I recall it happening was in like the 2000 or 2001.
Yeah, the .com era.
Yeah, the .com era. And I had just moved back home, and I'm trying to find a spot, and they having open houses for apartments. And I'm going in and like, okay, I can afford this. It's cool. And somebody comes in that's on a work visa, like, okay, well, my company is going to pay 6 months up front. So here you go. Here's a check for $15,000.
Yeah.
And that's that. And it's like, now it's even worse because it's way more people. And then the .coms, or tech companies as they call them now, are moving into Oakland because they can't afford to be in San Francisco. They can't afford to be in Silicon Valley. So it's not only residential prices going up, it's also commercial real estate prices going up, which prices out everybody. It's insane. And my family's been in Oakland for 70 plus years. So I'm like, we can't just not have a presence in this city.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, what we trying to do now? I mean, there's a lot of meetings and organizing going on. People approach, you got to approach it from different aspects. You got to approach it from the government aspect, getting into those city council meetings and making sure they're, passing certain legislations that are helping people, keep their homes and keep their jobs and keep the schools good. And also just, we got to be accountable to our own selves as far as what are we doing to have ownership of our own neighborhoods, or, taking care of our own neighborhoods, or, keeping our businesses thriving, supporting our own businesses so they're not falling under. So it's multifaceted on how to solve that issue, or how do we combat that issue of gentrification.
Because it's definitely people working. I mean, I see you out there, Mr. Fab, most definitely, Eric Arnold out there getting involved, and even people on a very, very grassroots community level just within their neighborhood, because there's so many new people in these neighborhoods that don't understand what's going on.
They have no idea, no concept.
They just got them a house. And
neighborhoods are changing names. They change
it's like that here in Atlanta. I was telling somebody the other day, like this West Midtown thing. I was like, bro, West Midtown did not exist until they started putting businesses over there.
Yeah, West Midtown started. I used to stay in quote unquote West Midtown.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where the apartment was at. But it's like, it was even different when I was living over there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But now, like, I go to a restaurant over there and I see like the little paraphernalia pamphlets. You know what I'm saying? Passing around. I was like, man, who are these white folk on these flyers, bro?
Right.
Like, there ain't no black people,
especially
in this
in
pamphlet.
Atlanta now with like old Fourth Ward and how that's like the place to be now. I'm like, man, if you wasn't going over there when Catfish Station was there, but you ain't really, you don't know what's going on. But it's wild, man. And the irony of it is, so many people move there because of the flavor, because of the culture, not realizing that they're part of destroying what they moved there for.
Yeah,
but do you think everybody is like quote unquote destroying though, or do you think it's things?
I mean, I just think you're part of it. We had this the Carmichael show. If y'all watched the Carmichael show, we talked about that a few weeks ago. It's like, you may not be a part. You may not proactively be trying to gentrify a neighborhood, but by coming in and paying these high ass rents, or with these people that are doing the super dirtbag stuff of getting these apartments and not living in them, but just putting them on Airbnb. So whereas you're taking in a crib from somebody who needs someplace to stay, so you can go ahead and rent these 2 rooms in this Airbnb in cities that aren't unregulated, like Oakland. And people do it all the time. Like, it's some real dirtbag shit going on out there.
Yeah, it definitely need to be regulations on shit like that. And people that move into the neighborhoods, they just need to just learn about, where you move into. Like, I couldn't just move to, another country, or, you ain't gonna just go to South Africa or just go to Ghana or move in a neighborhood in London and not really understand, the history of that neighborhood, or what goes on, or what's acceptable, or what this neighborhood is known for, or what made this neighborhood thrive. So just try to. It's just really about trying to connect, you know what I'm saying, and not just feel like
you're an outsider,
right?
Whether you own a gang of property or not, because and to a large extent, Atlanta, the east side is completely different from the west side. You know, Chicago is its own world. Harlem is its own world. Brooklyn is its own world. Oakland is its own world. Like, you got to respect it, man, because it ain't even just the people. Like, that spirit is there, and it's been there for a really long time. We were talking before we came on about, you know, just fatherhood and whatnot. And just, you know, for people that follow you, to listen to your music, they know that you're very socially conscious. So as a dad who has a preteen and also a very young kid, with all this stuff going on in the world right now, like, how do you explain to them, like, break down the race relations and this crazy ass election and black folks getting killed by police left and right? Like,
wow, it's tough, man. It's just something that you got to constantly, number one, for both of my kids, anybody, any good father or a good parent, you want your children to live and thrive as long as possible. So my number one, any lesson I'm trying to teach them, number one, is going to be about survival, like how to survive in this situation, or, you know, like knowing that, okay, well, if you in a situation with the police, you know, saying this is what you need to do to try to survive. Like, if you got to humble yourself, or if you got to try to just go along with it, get your ticket, whatever, do what you need to do to survive. I don't want to I'm not going to tell my child to do anything that's going to get them in danger,
right, or
could possibly either get them locked up or killed. I'm just not that parent. I'm not the one that's going to be like, you know what, ride or die, go out like a revolutionary. Nah, I'll do that. I'll die for you. You ain't got to die for none of this. Let me fight that fight. You know what I'm saying? So I try to, especially with my daughter, you know, my son is, you know, he's young, he's 5. So I haven't started having those talks with him yet. I don't want him to, you know, have to, you know, go to that space yet. Let him enjoy being a kid and just playing soccer, whatever. You know what I'm saying? But with my daughter, I definitely have to, you know, there's been times when I've been pulled over with her in the car. Yeah. And that was lesson number 1. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, let me handle this. Don't say nothing. I got this under control. You know, let me just do this and we can ride out. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely just try to be a good example, try to stay positive. And also just, she sees what I do. I take her to the rallies. I take her to events, and she hears me. I feel like, number one, we just got to be an example, because we can talk all this stuff to our kids, but if we not,
what you doing?
If we're not living by it, and we're not out in the streets, you know, supporting that, what we're telling them, then they're gonna be like, okay, whatever. So that's my number one thing, is being a good example, so she can see how it is. You know what I'm saying?
For sure. Now, you are very, you know, passionate, like I said, about that, but it also reflects in your music, and I see it also reflecting in a lot of other people's music that we wouldn't expect. Like, me and Reese was just talking about that Slim Thug album. Like, bro, like, it's completely different than anything he's ever done before, and it's probably one of the best albums he's made in a really long time. And then you also had Fab drop that album where he has some really strong stuff, and obviously Kendrick and the people that have been doing it for a minute. Do you see that stuff, like us going in that direction, since there's so much going on, where we'll hear more? It ain't necessarily got to be preachy. Everybody ain't going to be Chuck D, but people coming with some real life issues from their own perspective.
Right. I feel like it definitely, I mean, hopefully there always are a lot of artists who pushing that socially conscious agenda.
I don't think it's a lot.
But they just not getting the same amount of shine as other artists. Okay. You know what I'm saying? They're not on the radio. You can turn on the radio, you're not going to hear it, you know, or even Kendrick, as dope, as many Grammys he done been nominated for, as many shows he done sell out, you really still don't hear it on the radio a lot. You know what I'm saying? Right. Which is, in my mind, it's kind of crazy. I don't understand that. He's one of the biggest artists in hip hop. But you know, you got artists like J. Cole who speak from a certain perspective, you know, and have certain messages in his music. And so there's definitely artists that's doing it. And I feel like there's a lot of young artists that I see who have a more positive message, or more socially conscious, addressing the stuff like the Mike Browns or the Trayvons, you know, because it's so heavily in our media, on the news. So of course people are going to address it more, because it's more of a topic that people are talking about in general. So hopefully,
it's funny that you say that, because like I remember, I think I was at the Source Awards one year or something, and you know, there was this panel. There was like Russell Simmons, KRS-One, a few other folks, and of course, you know, the whole thing gets brought up. Why don't we hear more of this on the radio? Or, Russell, why isn't Def Jam making more of this kind of music? And Russell said something really, you know, that was factful. You know what I'm saying? He was like, look, man, when we were putting out Public Enemy and when folks were listening to Acclaimed, like, there was a certain mind state and conversation out there. That's why it went where it went. Because best believe, you know, we would not have been promoting it if it did not sell, bro. Like, we were still running a record company. But there was a certain conversation, a certain mind state out there where it's like, okay, this is what people are on. So it's like, it's just the thing where it's like, folks might, the masses might not be on that right now. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I guess it's art imitating life, imitating art, imitating life, imitating art. And I mean, that's just kind of how it goes. I'm just happy to see. I mean, people expect Tef Poe, Immortal Technique, Killer Mike, whoever to say certain things. I just think it's dope when you get who you might not expect to come out because it helps it across the board.
Yeah.
But it's still an uphill battle because, like you say, the mainstream radio is still a lot not really supporting that message. You know, what kills me is crazy to me is how you have radio stations out and in the community doing events supporting the community, but everything that they pushing on the radio is totally opposite. Like, yeah, come out, we feeding the kids and giving out backpacks, and then you turn on music
and up
and
next,
it's like,
kill that hoe and
exactly. I'm like, how does that even work? Like, so it's like, you know, and it's, you know, everybody has an agenda. This is a capitalist society, so yeah, everybody gonna try to do what sells. But you know, us, it's really just about educating. Like, I work with youth, and I know they want to hear certain stuff when they hanging out with their friends. Certain stuff get them hyped when they partying. So a lot of them minds ain't there yet. They can't grasp a Kendrick, or they can't grasp a, you know, saying, you know, a social justice album about social justice. They just want to party and kick it. So it's really about, you know, finding the audience that's really going to support that and just trying to educate the youth so they're more open to it, you know what I'm saying, so on a wider level.
Because you are so well versed in both worlds, before we go, I want you to give, on both sides, 3 artists or albums from the jazz world, 3 artists or albums from the hip-hop world that everybody should listen to.
3 albums.
Or artists. I think when the day and age of everybody having title or whatever, it's so easy to be like, boom, all right, he said this, let me check it out.
I'll say, in jazz, I would definitely say, to me, it starts with John Coltrane. I mean, because just on so many levels, spiritual, just musical, just a virtuoso. John Coltrane, definitely, I would even throw in Thelonious Monk just as a piano player. And then something more, Roy Hargrove.
Okay.
Because to me, he was one of the first who was like, okay, I'm coming from a... You could tell he had some hip-hop in him. Like when he did that RH Factor album.
That RH Factor was fire, Sheldon.
That was like the first... that was the first like non-corny, legitimate bridge of hip-hop and jazz that I saw. That was like the precursor to a Terrorist or a Thundercat or a Glasper. Yeah. So I would definitely put Roy Hargrove there because he could do the straight ahead as good as Miles Davis or any of them. Hip hop, I'm definitely, you know, I'm a fan of Nas. Definitely as an MC, I'm definitely Tribe Called Quest. I'm definitely a fan of them because they really inspired me to get more into jazz and hip hop. And I'm gonna say, I'm gonna say Hieroglyphics, just being from the town, because you listen to any Hieroglyphic album, it's a high level of just MCing hip hop on a raw level. It ain't commercial. It's just MCing from like, we on the street corner trying to be the best rapper, and we in the studio trying to make the best beats. So I gotta give up to Hyro on that level.
Man, we certainly appreciate you coming through. It's been a long time in the making. You was one of the first people we really wanted to have on just to chop it up.
I appreciate it, man. Love what you're doing, man. Congrats on all the success, man. I see it pushing.
For sure.
It's dope.
Much so appreciated. So first week of September.
Yeah. 88 Steps to Eternity. Just, you know, look out online. Hit me on the Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Kev Choice, KevChoiceMusic.com. You can find me SoundCloud. Just hit me up. You'll see all the new releases. I got some dope stuff coming.
For sure. Well, you're listening to Day One Radio, ABLRadio.com. As always, we will see you next week with another dope show. And if you're in Atlanta, make sure you come and check us out every Wednesday at Slice on Piedmont for Hip Hop Trivia at 8 p.m. We'll see you next week.